Welcome to Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books, hosted by me, Zibby Owens. It's an award-winning podcast with over 1,900 episodes, all featuring authors of books you love and those you have yet to discover. Listen daily 5 times a week. Then go to zibbymedia.com and learn more about what the LA Times called the Zibbyverse. Zibby Media includes Zibby's Bookshop, an independent bookstore in Santa Monica, Zibby Books Publishing, Zibby Retreats, Zibby's Book Club, and more. Go check it out at zibbymedia.com and follow me on Instagram at Zibby Owens. It'll take you where you need to go. Thanks for listening. Judy Greer is the author of I Don't Know What You Know Me From, and she's also the star of The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. Judy Greer has had a prolific career in both film and television, appearing in nearly 200 roles to date, including the Blumhouse reboot of Halloween, directed by David Gordon Green, starring alongside Jamie Lee Curtis, and its sequel, Halloween Kills. She recently starred in the indie film Eric LaRue, Michael Shannon's directorial debut, which premiered this year at the Tribeca Film Festival. Greer's television credits include Reboot, Steve Levitan's new series for Hulu and 20th Television. She was nominated for an Astra Television Award for her work on the HBO limited series White House Plumbers. And Judy also wrapped the 14th season of FX's beloved animated series Archer. Her new movie is The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. I interviewed her as part of the junket while she was on tour for this fabulous film, which my kids and I watched and loved. So we talked about the movie and we talked about her and her book and her life. And honestly, she is so knowledgeable about books, it blew me away. Listen to our fabulous bookish conversation and go see her new movie, The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. Hi, Judy. How are you? Nice to meet you.
It's so good. It's so nice to meet you, too.
So I have to say, I read your memoir, so now I'm worried that this is one of those junkets where you're going to make up a word.
Oh my gosh. You know what's so funny is I was talking to some of the team from Lionsgate here today, and as soon as I was talking about this junket being really fun because everyone loves the movie, and it's been like a fun movie to talk about, and I've been mostly paired with Pete Holmes, I was like, gosh, we didn't even need to play the word game this time because it's been like super fun. So don't you worry. Anything that I say is like real.
Okay. Well, I'll be on the lookout for alligators or whatever else.
Good memory.
Well, congratulations on the movie, which was fabulous. Watched with my kids. It was so great and funny and poignant and amazing. So thank you for that.
That's what we wanted. That's the best. Thank you.
Having read your memoir, and sorry to keep referencing it, but now I feel like
I don't mind at all, please.
Which was great. And this is like usually a books podcast. So
yeah,
I love books and
me too.
And all of that. But here you play the mom in the movie, and I read all about your mom.
Yeah.
So there are clearly a lot of differences. Why don't you talk about your mom and playing a mom and maybe your role as a stepmom as well?
Yeah. Well, I've played a lot of moms, and they're all very different. Like there's different versions of momming. I only know like to borrow from my own personal experience with my stepkids, but then also like from my mom. And my mom, she was a career woman. She was really tough. She was really driven, I should say, very focused. And also, I think her expectations of people around her were and are very high. And so I always wanted to impress her. I still kind of do. That doesn't go away. We talk about it though, so it's like totally healthy. But I always want to make my mom impressed. And she really taught me such an insane work ethic. And so I think part of the reason, like my friends are always like, you're never not working. You work too much. I'm like, that's how I was raised. And that's like what I value is like working hard. And like my mother was a hospital administrator and she loved healthcare and she loves healthcare. She loved being in a hospital. She loved nursing. She loved patients. And so I learned from her to like spend my life doing something that I love so that I never feel like I'm at work. And so that's what I did. And I think for Grace, to compare Grace to my mom, like my mother would have 100% volunteered for the pageant. In fact, so many times, like I will talk to my mom and she'll be like, oh, I'm going over to Liz's to help her paint her bedroom. And I'm like, why does Liz need you to help her paint her bedroom? I'm like, well, she just does. Or like, I'm going to go and move in with Nene for 6 weeks while she recovers from her knee surgeries in case she needs anything. And like, she's just so like that. Like she's so giving of her time and she volunteers even now. And I mean, I think my mom will always be someone who you can, like, the community could lean on. But don't take advantage of my mom if you're listening to this. But she's always willing to donate her time, which I think she's taught me is very valuable.
Oh, I love that. Well, Grace in the movie, as soon as she felt like she couldn't do it or anyone was threatening her, she was like all in, right? It's like the neighborhood mean moms and all of that. And she's like, oh, yeah? Yes, I can. Which I loved because why not stick up to the mean moms? And, it's very important. But I feel like that was like your mom talking to you and saying like, yes, you can get into this acting program in a week and like you're going to do it.
I so was thinking about that when you were my mom does love a challenge. And I remember that vividly, that was a real challenge for my mom. And in this particular case, the challenge was about me, not her. But yes, she would always rise to the occasion. And if someone told her that she couldn't do it, she definitely would prove that she can. And so I think in that way, she has so much in common with Grace because yes, they both really took it upon themselves to, my mom pushed me into something that I would have probably let slip through my hands, and Grace really decided that she could make this pageant work, and she could make it work with the Herdmans.
I love that. Well, the determination and all of that just shines through. I was wondering, so this book, the book on which the movie is based, The Best Christmas Pageant Ever by Barbara Robinson, came out in 1972. Did you read this book growing up? Because I actually did not. Did you? Had you read it before?
I don't have any memory of this book in my childhood, and I'm not saying that wasn't there. I just don't remember it. And I definitely read all the books on our shelves. The first time I read it was after I read the script. So I usually, in a situation like this, I would read the script first, and then I would read the book, and then I'm always curious about how different is it going to be? And what was really heartwarming was I loved the script so much, and the book was the same. So to me, it was like a no-brainer. That it's written exactly like the novel, I think, or novella is really, it's kind of telling, a book that has managed to be beloved for this many decades. Why would you change it?
It's true. No, it was so similar, and that was great because the voice is the best part, right?
I know.
The voice is something you can't replicate that easily.
Exactly, and that's really what the tone is. And I think that it's very, it says a lot about a director who wants to maintain the book's tone and character and doesn't think that he or she can add a better twist to it. He just wanted to make this movie in the way that he always read the book instead of, and I'm talking about Dallas Jenkins in this case, instead of trying to put his own spin on it or his own twist on it, and I think that says a lot too, how much he cherishes this story.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Why fix what's not broken, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, why not? So you've written about being the friend so much in your career to date. And here you are this star. This is amazing. You just nailed it. So how has that been so far for you?
Well, I definitely was number one on the call sheet of this movie, but I feel like the real star of this film is the kids. They're just you can't even be mad at them for stealing all the scenes because they're so good and they're so wonderful. And having an opportunity to be the lead in a movie, first of all, it's hugely flattering and I'm very grateful, but I've really seen the beauty in what I do, which is to be able to sort of disappear inside of roles. And I know I write about this, but to be able to kind of blend into the background a little bit more. I think it just, I've hit so many demographics with my fans. I've done so many different genres of TV and film. I don't think I could have accomplished all that if I'd started out maybe as number one on the call sheet. I don't know. I think of most of what I do as an ensemble because it has to be that way for us to tell a story. I'm the star of The Life of Judy Greer, but when I'm acting, I am a part of this great company, hopefully great company of people all working to tell one story. I sound very hippy-dippy, but I don't believe, they say there's no small actors, right? But I don't know. I kind of agree with that. It's so dorky, but it's true.
No, it's not. It's lovely. And that's such a nice thing to do.
Yeah.
And it also dovetails so well with like Grace and her whole personality and how she sees the good in everybody. And she can just have so much patience and tolerance. And the worst seeming kids can actually, if you understand what motivates them or take the time, it makes all the difference. And it's a lesson that I feel like we need so much, particularly now in the world. Do you feel like you got like an injection of empathy plus after being in the film?
I really did. I really loved Grace. I mean, I like thinking about like what can I steal from these people I play, and with her, like she's so patient, and Grace is, I mean, she's not afraid to go outside of her comfort zone, and I think that is what drives so many of us is fear, and fear of the other and fear of the unknown. And if we can take these great leaps while being afraid, like our life is going to get so much fuller and so much more beautiful. And I really learned that from this story. This movie taught me that. The script, even before we started shooting it, and also Grace's character, and how she allows these kids to take over the pageant and stand up for them to the whole town is like terrifying, I think, but it's so beautiful.
It really is. It's amazing. Tell me a little more about the role of books in your life. And I know you, in the book, you said that Lori Gottlieb's book actually got you to marry your husband. And she's been on this podcast, and she's amazing. I love her. So I know you're in a book club, or were. Are you still in a book club? And
by the way, I would love to be in another book club. So if anyone will have me in their book club, I'm on the hunt for a good book club. We sort of disbanded.
You can come to my book club. I have a book club.
Oh,
if you want.
I do.
I'm just throwing it out there.
I would love to. Oh my gosh, I would love to. Okay, you heard it here first. We do not have to read my book in the book club, by the way. In fact, I prefer that we didn't, just as a caveat. I also bring good snacks. Do we do it in person, or is it on Zoom?
It's on Zoom, but we do it in person at my bookstore in Santa Monica, so we could meet there.
I'm there. I'm in. Books. Yes. How you were asking me about
the role of books. And are you still in a book club, and what do you like to read?
So, no, not in a book club anymore, but I guess now I am. So thank you for that. Thank you for changing my answer. I got so excited I forgot the question. Books, I would say, are, I mean, I'm going to sound like hyperbolic, but like everything in my life, like I'm never not reading. I love books. I've loved books since I was a little kid. I don't remember learning how to read. I remember reading. I read so much when I was growing up that my parents told my babysitters that I wasn't allowed to read, that I had to go outside and play. They limited the amount of books I could buy. You know, I've always been holed up with a book somewhere, and I read every single day. It is actually like the one thing I really do every day. I cannot think of a day in my whole life when I haven't ended it by reading at least one page of something. And often I wake up in the middle of the night with insomnia, which is so awesome. But I read in bed at night when I can't sleep. And yeah, one of my favorite things to do. I travel so much for work, and I'm always shooting in towns all over the world, mostly in America. But I did get out to Europe this year for the first time. That was fun. But first thing I do is find a bookstore. And one of my best friends is a producer named Helen Estabrook. And whenever I get to, like, I'm shooting somewhere in a new town, and I'm really like, I feel a little unhinged, and like there's no like earth beneath my feet, and I'm homesick, and I'm like, I can't do it. I can't be here for 2 months. Helen always says, find a bookstore and go to it. Make it the first thing you do when you get to a new place, and you'll feel home, and you'll understand, and you'll feel settled. And it's so true. And that's what I do. And it's just been the greatest advice for travel. And and unfortunately, I buy so many books when I travel. And my husband's always like, why do you buy books when you travel? They're heavy and you don't have room for them. I'm like, I have to.
I am the same exact way. It's so great to go to a place and feel like, oh, look, here are all my friends. They're just waiting for me on the shelves.
I know. I know. And I think I feel like less guilty buying a book when I'm traveling and I'm supporting a small local bookstore.
Guilt no guilt can be associated with books. You're doing a good thing for the author, for the community, for you.
I'm going to take that off the table right now. No guilt can be associated with purchasing books. I'm right now about to finish Laura Dave's new novel. That's on my nightstand. I have
Laura Dave.
Yes, obviously. I have a collection of essays by Rebecca Solvent on my nightstand as well that I dip into from time to time. I finished before that H is for Hawk and Diary of a Void. And I'm trying to think of what I read before that. Oh, I did this summer, I shot a movie called The Long Walk, which is based on a book by Stephen King that he wrote in the 70s. So I read that. And I also just finished Atomic Habits, which I'd been dying to read. I read that with my stepson. So we're going to work on our Atomic Habits together. I love him so much. And he was totally willing to read that with me. Before that, I read a book called, I'm ashamed to say, Boundaries. And I'm like, I really need to get some boundaries. And then I swear, because our phones are listening to us, like up popped like an alert for like, buy boundaries, buy so-and-so. And I was like, okay. So I read Boundaries. I still don't have boundaries, but now I know why I don't. I'm trying to think of, isn't it funny? Like I just go through them so quickly and then I forget. I feel like I've never read a book before, but.
That is a lot. Most people can remember like one or two. So that was like an A+ on the recall.
Oh, thank you. We also, you know, I was shooting a movie after the best Christmas pageant ever, and I was with my cast, and we were in Finland, and we sort of had like a whole book thing going where like all of us on the movie were big readers, so we were switching books and trading them, and that was really fun too. I read The Wager, a book called Swimming Pool. I'm trying to think of, bummer, I can't remember. Oh, Trust we all read, which was amazing.
Wait, so you should have your own book club. No, seriously, put it on Instagram. Pick a book a month. Everybody, do it.
God, I mean, maybe I could. I feel like, but okay, like when you have a book club, like what if you don't, like I'm just so blown away that someone can write a book, but like what if you don't love it? Like how do you deal with that?
Then don't pick that book then.
As your
like,
book of the month.
Book.
Okay, read the book and then choose it.
Yeah, like after you finish a book and you're like, this is the best thing ever, I can't wait to tell everybody about that, that'll be your book club.
Okay.
Quick. And you just post it and the author will be so happy.
Okay, I can do that. I read one of my new favorite books of all time is called Wellness by Nathan Hill, and I loved that book. And I've recommended it to so many people. I just thought it was so incredible. And then obviously Demon Copperhead was totally life-changing. I loved that book so much. Those two really stand out in the last couple of years of like books that I keep on my shelf.
I had Barbara Kingsolver on this podcast too. You can listen, see how amazing she is. She was on with her daughter.
I like the only person who hasn't read the Poisonwood Bible, and that's next on the list. That's on my pile right now.
I will not tell anybody.
Okay, thank you.
It's okay.
Except for I'm telling everybody.
Safe with me. Oh my gosh, I love that. Have you ever tried writing? I know you have your 42 diaries or whatever, but like, have you ever thought about, aside from the book, the memoir, but like, fiction? I mean more fiction.
You know what's funny is that my friend Janet, my best friend Janet and I, a few years ago, like 2018, I think, we wrote a novel together. And we wrote it, we worked on it really hard. We took it out once to some publishers, and everyone passed on it, and then the pandemic happened, and then we decided to like pull it out and see if maybe we could revamp it and give it some like fresh thoughts, fresh ideas. And so we both reread it and had a meeting about it, and we both decided that we didn't love it anymore. We didn't want to work on it anymore. And we were like, you know what? Maybe that is just like this really fun thing that we did together. Maybe there's like another story we want to tell. But I was kind of proud of us actually for being willing to like walk away. It's like editing a movie. Like sometimes you just have to be like, that scene is great, but it's not going to work. It's not going to tell the story. And we loved our book. We were so happy we did it. It was a super fun thing to do together, but no, it's not the one. Of course, I fantasize about writing the great American novel. I fantasize about writing the great American novella, to be honest, but I don't know if I ever will. I mean, in order to write, you have to write. So that's the thing I don't do. I read, but I don't read. And I loved Stephen King's book on writing where he just talks about, like have that schedule. I'm sure we've all read Bird by Bird and like, just sit down. You just got to do it. And one of my old college girlfriends was like, well, are you writing every day? And I'm like, no. And she's like, yeah, then you don't want to write a book. And I was like, all right, I guess I don't.
Or maybe not right now.
Maybe not right now.
There's no expiration date.
Fair.
And you did say that you might want to write a whole thing because no one would believe your relationship with your husband and his ex-wife and all of that. So that sounds like you have some fodder left to write. So.
There's a little something left in there, yeah.
You were actually so funny about, I shouldn't say actually, you were so funny about being a stepmom and sort of all the indignities about parenting in general and how you can put all this effort into anything like a meal or whatever and have it not be repaid. And I feel like Grace in the movie also puts forth so much effort, which is not really acknowledged, certainly not by the community at first and not by the kids. Everything feels very thankless. So how do you get through a time where you feel like you're just like giving so much and not getting a lot in return?
Yeah, I have an image in my head of a piggy bank, and I have an image of like putting money into a piggy bank, and that while you're not spending this money now, it's like all sitting there, it's saving, it's like it's there for a rainy day. Like when you're doing things like that at the time feel thankless, like what you don't realize is that you're just like you're putting money in a savings account that is compounding interest. You know what I mean? Like you're making more money on your money. And that's kind of what I think in some ways parenting is. Like you put in the time, you put in the hours, you do your 10,000 hours with your kids, you love them more than anything, you're obsessed with them. Like it's probably going to come back to you at the end, like it's never a bad thing. It's never a bad thing to just love without requiring anything in return. It makes you like I don't know, it's beautiful. That's the one beautiful thing about, I think, parenting. And like now my stepkids are in their 20s and it's like, since I wrote that book, it's been a really long time. Like they're their own people now. And like, I feel like I'm getting all of it back. I'm like getting so much love back. I'm getting time back. I mean, they make time for me just like I made time for them. And I know that's not always the case, but I feel like, maybe, well, look, we're all obsessed with instant gratification. We live in a society where you put it in and you get it back, you get it back, you get it back. And so like human relationships, regardless of the relationship, like human kindness, it's not instant gratification, like you just have to do it. And I think like seeing a movie like our movie and watching like how the decision was made that these kids were bad and like that's it. Like people, like one of the beautiful stories in this movie is like opening your eyes and like allowing something in that you didn't think was there before, but like you have to like put the time in with people so that they will give you like who they really are.
I love that. It's really nice.
Thanks.
And be open to new perspectives on the oldest stories in the book.
Yes, back to the fear. We can't be so afraid of everything and the other and be open, like whether you're afraid or not, to just be open to hearing what's going on, the story, like what was soccer practice like tonight? Like how was that meeting at work, honey? Like being open.
Yeah. Just like the pulling open of the card catalog in the movie, which was such a lovely throwback to those times. And just
by the way, I didn't even think it was like a throwback. I was like, oh yeah. And I'm like, oh, right.
It's been so warm this year. I actually was feeling like winter itself was a throwback. Like, oh, remember when like the car would skid?
I know.
Oh, well, the power of books is sort of so pervasive in this movie. The fact that it was based on a book, the books, the story of the Bible, the story, how they reinterpreted everything. So it's fitting that you are such a book lover in the midst of all of it.
Thanks.
All right, last question. Like if you had like a week to yourself, how many books do you think you could go through?
Like a full week, like 7 days?
Yeah, like you're going to, I don't know, wherever you love to go.
I think 5.
Okay.
I think 5.
And
I mean,
is
maybe
there
not
one?
like maybe not the Covenant of Water. Like if I was going to bring that, then I would say 3. But like average size books, 5.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Well, do you have any advice for people getting through the holiday season this year?
Oh, please, please, please take some time for yourself. It's really important. Even if you go to the bathroom and lock the door and set the timer on your phone for 5 minutes and just sit on the floor, just take a breath. And like everything goes by so fast. Let's really enjoy each other. Let's love each other. Let's love strangers. Let's drive the speed limit and use our blinkers and Uber if we're going to have eggnog, and like do all the safety things so that we can just like take really good care of ourselves, take care of each other, and like not rush through it.
I love that. That is great advice. Thank you. Yeah. And now I feel like I've just like gone to like a little spa for a little bit. Now I'm going to take a deep breath and feel better about everything.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Thanks for coming on Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books, and keep reading. I love it.
Thank you. I'll see you at book club.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks for listening to Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. If you love it, please leave a review and follow us on social at Zibby Owens and at Zibby Readers.